Have you ever wondered why communication is very important in preparing for a kingdom marriage? In a culture that glorifies unbiblical relationships and hookup culture, it's easy to feel lost in all of the fluff. You really want to attract a godly spouse, but no one's really showing you how. And let's be real, it seems like you keep doing the same things, looking for a different result, but the result that you're getting is only dissatisfactory to the Lord. Well, the good news is that you're not alone. Whether you're navigating the pressures of modern dating or the feeling of being isolated as a Christian single, trust me, we've been there. My name is James, and with my wife Brianna, we create content for Christian singles that focus on real talk, biblical truth, and a little bit of humor. In today's episode, we're going to react to a TikTok video that can show us how really your attitude could be the thing that could be keeping you single. All right, let's jump into the video.
You know what love is. You know what love is.
A couple years ago, my husband told me that I was a bare minimum wife and mother. This obviously upset me. I felt like I was doing everything. I was raised by a mother who contracted out raising us, worked full time, and our coaches, teachers, the heavy lifting of raising us. So, as a stay at home mom who makes home cooked meals every night with her children from sun up to sundown, eyes open to eyes closed every single day. What do you mean I'm bare minimum? So I took this very personally because he didn't really elaborate. Started doing all this extra stuff like making butter, making pasta from scratch, doing all this extra stuff. Now I'm in his face like, who's bare minimum now? Who's bare minimum me? It was still me. I was still bare minimum because it wasn't my culinary skills that he was talking about. He wasn't looking for handmade pasta. He was looking for a wife and a mother who did her job and did it without an attitude. Saw her children as a blessing rather than a burden. Brought peace and comfort and light to the home. But I was so angry with his honesty that instead of taking a second to consider that maybe I was bare minimum, sis, you can do all the work in the world, but if your attitude is stinking up your home, it's going to be your legacy. That's going to be all that's remembered. And most of the time, the problem is we just need to slow down. Now, this is something that I'm still working on, still working through. And recently, it was something that I needed to be reminded of. Cooking, cleaning, feeding your family is the easy part. But what attitude you do it with is going to be what's remembered. Working way too hard. Don't tarnish your legacy. 30 years from now, your children and your husband won't look back and remember that delicious butter. They'll remember overstimulated, touched out mother who screamed the whole time she made the butter, turned her back on her husband at the end of the night because she was so tired from churning her own butter. Couple
Okay,
years.
so
That's touchy. I'm sorry. It's touchy subject.
I'm gonna speak to the husband, and I don't know outside of what she shared. I don't know who this guy is and you know, what type of husband he is. They have their own family dynamic, they have their own marriage dynamic. But I will say for someone who is a husband who has a mom that, who has a wife that is no, who has a wife that is stay at home, working from home, stay at home. That the first thought that popped in my head was, bro, have you been checking in with her? How have you been checking in with her? And I don't know if he's been checking in or not, but
What the
like
dynamics
what
are.
the dynamic is. But my first thing would be one, husbands, to check in with your wives and find out why.
Mhm.
Why is it
It's like a
that
disconnect.
she's irritable, that there's a disconnect?
Mhm.
Matter of fact, this is something that Sister Mason shared with us in our resource tab for our marriage group.
Mm.
And I read it earlier. It was I don't know if it was a true story or not, but basically it was something similar to this,
Okay.
where the wife, she was complaining that, she was just upset because she was just doing a lot,
Mhm.
and she was in pain, and it was a lot.
Yeah.
Um and it was similar. But she wouldn't express fully how she was feeling, and all the husband wanted was sex. And
Mm.
because he wasn't getting that, he just like backed off, and he just was looking at her kind of like, agnostically.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until she began to elaborate, because she then was getting upset with him, was like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm done with this whole thing. But then she talked to older married sister of hers, and you know one, the older married sister was telling her, hey, open up and share with your husband what's really going on, why are you feeling this way. And then when she began to open up and express how she really was feeling, the husband was like, oh, I didn't know. And because I didn't know, he reacted with just like, he thought that she was just being, abrasive, that she was just being just distant from
Mhm.
him. But it wasn't until she explained to him what the issue really was, she named the issue. Then once she named the issue, the husband was able to say, "Oh, okay, well then how can I then help?" And in a situation like, what the sister is describing, it can be on both sides. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
she goes into sisters, watch your attitude, but then at the same time, bruh, like check
Check in.
in, check in with your wife, like
Tap in.
tap in. It shouldn't just be this whole,
It's
oh
not
well, if
one-sided.
she
It's never a one-sided coin.
never, and it only becomes that if you don't communicate.
Yep. That was the key word that I got from you because one thing that's big, I when I'm talking to my single sisters, and I know one of the biggest struggles when you're single is like you trying to stay pure in the realm of intimacy, right? The
Yeah,
enemy really tries to get singles in the bed, and
yeah,
he likes to keep married people out
out
of
the
the
bed.
bed. And the reason is because sometimes when we're in our singleness and we go through courtship, we're still fighting against, okay, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch,
Yep.
don't touch. But we don't realize that we need to focus on communication. We
Hmm.
need to focus on service. We need to focus on humility. We need
Yeah,
to focus on fasting and praying
yeah,
and all the things that will be monumental in your
yeah.
marriage. But one of the biggest things is communication because
Hmm.
if you cannot communicate, if y'all are not able to sit down and have a conversation that's, raw, I feel like raw is okay, but you also want to be raw with grace.
Yeah, seasoning with
You want to
salt.
be, yeah, seasoned. Because I'm sorry, I'm gonna just say it. uh, Shout out to sis for making the video, but I don't think that that was seasoned at all.
Mm.
Like bare minimum. So Google. The term bare minimum refers to the least possible amount
Sheesh.
or quantity of something that is still considered acceptable
Wow.
or sufficient for a particular purpose or requirement. It essentially means doing or having only the smallest amount needed to get by.
That's how you felt.
So, no, it's because though he does not I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Based off of this little
Snippet.
snippet, it's giving you don't know how to properly communicate
Yeah.
how you are feeling and your emotions and what you are receiving from her and what she's doing. Also,
Yeah, you could
your
communicate that better.
language,
Yeah.
the language that you are using, it's giving elementary
Yeah.
because that is not bare minimum. The thing should have been he could have said this and I would not be as up in arms. He could have just said, "Babe, I feel neglected in this
Mhm.
season."
Mhm.
And we've talked to married couples who've gone
Mhm.
through those seasons where, hey man, I feel neglected. Either work has you or the children
Yep.
has you. But bare minimum, no, no, no. Bare minimum means she's sitting on her behind with her feet up and the kids are just running the
And
house.
she just named
That's
some of the
not what's happening.
she named the things that and what she
That
was
she's
doing.
that was that she was doing.
That's not bare
But
minimum.
the issue is she was obviously she's not doing
The
it in the
specific things, yeah.
specific things, but also she's not doing the things the way that he wants them to be done.
Right.
And so it could have been more of like he may be feeling neglected in the season, or it could have been like, hey babe, um, like I like what you said. He could have said, hey babe, I'm noticing that you are way more
Distant.
irritable
Mhm.
and distant. Do can I take a load off? What can I do? It's
Mhm.
the way that you talk to her. Even in the Bible, I love I'm gonna go to it because y'all need to hear this because at the end of the day this is who we model after.
Yeah.
Isaiah 40 verse 2, and you talking about bare minimum. Israel for God was given bare minimum. Okay, okay, and this is what he says. So I'm gonna go to the
CSB.
CSB. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem
Mm.
and announce to her that her time of hard service is over.
Mm.
Her iniquity has been pardoned, and she has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins.
Whoa. Okay,
Speak
sis.
tenderly,
Mm. And
right?
and and that's the Lord himself as the husband showing and modeling how to
What
speak to his wife
who was wild? Like
who was
it
wilding.
was giving bare minimum.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
how in the husband, what like because so it says the marriage is Christ in the church. The
Mhm.
husband as the head,
As
as
the
the
head,
one that
yeah.
is literally reflecting Christ, there has to be tenderness.
Yeah.
What is the other scripture where it talks about men or husbands dwell? Is it
Peace,
reasonable,
peace.
peacefully
Yeah,
with your wives,
yeah,
right? Like we can't ignore we can't sit and ignore the word of God, but expect it to be evident and fruitful in our lives.
yeah. Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her to make her holy, cleansing her with the washing of water by the by the word. Um, and I think that this is important because and I'm learning now that like the way that my actions, my attitude, my demeanor, the way that I react to things, like that low key dictates how she reacts, and then even how even my child acts. Like if I'm approaching a situation and I'm hostile about it, then she'll get hostile about it. Or if I approach a situation and I'm calm about it, and even if she may be hostile, she'll come down like, oh, okay, all right, so he's calm about it. I think that, and this is something that uh, Jason Wilson talks about, of just like the comprehensive man, and how a lot of brothers, we just have a lot of pent up just emotions inside, and we don't know how to
Frustrations.
properly just release it. And so
Mhm.
because of that, we'll release it
In
in
a
in
healthy
in,
way,
in
not
various ways
unhealthy
that they really
ways.
aren't healthy. And then
Mhm.
even for some of the men that's married, it can be just how you speak to your wife.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think
Mhm.
that in the case of this video, she admitted fault, and
She
how she
did.
can properly navigate. And
Mhm.
okay, but at the same time, I think that
The
uh
language
there was a communication
issue.
issue that
Mhm.
probably could have been handled a little bit better.
Mhm.
Although looks
On
like
both
looks like
sides.
looks like she got the message, but I think that the way the message was communicated could have been better.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I 1,000% agree.
if this video challenged you, we'd like you to go ahead and click the like button and hit the subscribe button too. That way we can get this message to other Christian singles that are preparing for a kingdom spouse. Because here's the thing, sometimes the hardest conversations to have in marriage are the conversations that focus on roles, attitude, and submission. And in this next video, we interview a married couple that really break down that word submission and what it really practically means for Christians. All right, check this out over here.